Hi beautiful friends, I'm back, and if you're new to this channel is about everything spiritual. I started my spiritual journey about 3 years ago after I had a spontaneous awareness moment, epiphany, awakening, whatever you want to call it. And so I come on here just teaching, doing card readings, or just sharing my life and what's going on. So today I'm going to talk about the law of attraction because that's what's really relevant in my life, and it's something that I know a decent amount about. So I'm going to talk about the law of attraction, or the law of mirroring, from my point of view. There's a lot that goes beyond the law of mirroring, but I'm not all there yet. I'm only going to talk about what is relevant to me and what I have learned. So I am a life coach. I am an intuitive reader, and I have helped people through the law of attraction and how to create like their dream life. But, I help people when they're in transitions with their life, at a crossroads. I mean, not just with that, but, that's usually what I draw into my experience, because I've had a lot of crossroads in my life. And so when I coach people, that's usually what I can help them through. So with the law of attraction, what I have learned is, in my past, I was subconsciously programmed by society and by my parents or family or friends. We're subconsciously programmed heavily from birth to 10 years old. That's when our subconscious is in the theta state. And so I was programmed to think of the worst case scenario, to prepare for the worst but expect the best, was something that I repeated a lot. And so when we focus our attention on things that we don't want, and when I mean focus our attention, we have a thing inside of our head called the ego voice. It's a dialogue that goes on in your head. Now, I've had some people not realize that, or not be able to separate that voice. First of all, it's really a really good idea to name the voice. I named my ego voice Becky. Becky is my mother's name, and that's what it sounds like. It's like a critical parent a lot of the time. And so that voice is programmed like a record. It's like on repeat, and it's negative, and it will think of the worst case scenario, and you're not doing this right, and you're not a good mom. These are the things it says. You're not smart enough. Can you really do this? Look at you, you're gaining weight. Like, it's those type of negative thoughts. And so when we're giving attention to those thoughts and constantly going over it, so for instance, if you are mad at your mom or a friend or a coworker or your husband, I tend to do this a lot. I go over in my head mad like scenarios of why they pissed me off. I keep repeating it. And when you repeat things and you get mad, you're giving energy to it. Meaning, so all I can talk about is right here in my chest. This is where like my feelings box is. I feel sadness, I feel depression, I feel anger. Right here. I feel real happiness in my stomach, but right here in my chest. So if I'm going over in my head why I'm pissed off about why my husband did something, I'll feel it here in my chest. And so from what I've learned, as the universe or God or consciousness, whatever you'd like to call it, it speaks in feelings, energies, and frequencies. And all it does is give you what you give attention to. So you have to be really like, once I realized that little concept, that like, oh shit, I've given attention to a lot of things that I didn't want. Most of the time I'm giving attention to a lot of things that I don't want. One thing I'm really, really good at is envisioning things in my head. And so I'll envision, like, it will just pop up in my mind because my subconscious has been programmed for so many years that like worst case scenarios and the envisionment of it pops in my head. For me, this is called clairvoyance. So what I did was, once I noticed that the dialogue starts to repeat it in my head, I start getting a vision of it, then I start generating feelings in my chest, and then the more and more I do that, the more and more I draw that experience towards me. Or because I've repeated this over and over in my head, like I'm pissed off at my husband, when he comes in the door, I react. Like, I've already repeated for fucking 4 hours that he pissed me off about not taking out the trash. And the meaning I've given to it is that he doesn't like consider my time. And so when he walks in the door, I start giving him attitude, and I start manifesting like more chaos in my life. And I saw that growing up. So I hadn't noticed that this pattern goes on in me amongst a lot of different scenarios. And so you have to notice that within yourself. If you want to reprogram that, you have to notice that this pattern, this cycle goes on. And once you notice it, then you can intentionally stop it. So when I hear it going on, when I hear the fight going on in my head, or I notice that I'm envisioning stuff, I stop it and I'm like, no, Jacqueline, don't do that. Don't give energy to it. And so then I will think of the best case scenario of like my husband coming in the door and I'm like high-fiving him and we're having a good day or something like that. Or I'll try to remember all the times that he did do things that are really good for me. I have to reprogram those thoughts. And another great way of doing this too is by meditation. If I'm really good at envisioning things, some people are not. I have the gift of clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience. So I'm very, very good. Like I would say my most powerful clair is clairvoyance. So I use meditation for manifestation. And I could tell you story after story of how I have manifested good and negative scenarios from my point of view. And so here's a real quick story because I love stories. So I noticed Preston Smiles, shout out if you ever see this, who knows. Preston Smiles is somebody, it's a coach that I follow very closely. I love him. He speaks my language. And I noticed one day watching his stories that he was moving to Austin. First of all, here's a little backstory. When I first had my awakening, I had all these envisionments in my head, and I knew a lot of the conscious people that I was starting to follow were going to move to Austin, or just a ton of people were going to move to Austin in the Austin area because it's a very woo-woo kind of city. And I just knew it was going to happen. And after COVID, this fucking reality, it's crazy in Austin. Like the real estate has like tripled. It's crazy. Anyways, I'm watching his stories and I see that he's moving to Austin. I'm like, oh my God. So I kind of messaged this one girl that has worked under him. I'm like, hey, did you see that Preston has moved to Austin? And I go and I was like, I'm going to envision me meeting Preston, right? I'm just going to envision it. And so I sat down for a 5-minute meditation. It was just a manifestation meditation that I looked up on YouTube, and I started meditating and getting excited. And I envisioned that I saw him in like Silver Park with his kids, and I shook his hand. And then I came out of the meditation and I looked at my phone on Instagram and he started following me. So no, I have not met him. I have gone to a few of his friends' parties. I have seen his friend's wife. I haven't met him yet, but I was able to get him to follow me on social media. And then I ended up doing one of his courses. So I have been on Zoom meetings with him, but it was just crazy, how I was able to manifest that within 5 minutes. Another thing, so here's a negative experience. You could say it was negative. I have a son that's on the spectrum. This is huge in my life. It is something that is teaching me a lot about how I react and how he reacts and how he has fed off of me and how I have taught him these things, how his environment at school has got him into fight or flight or has beliefs, so on and so forth. Well, something that I told my son when he was younger, which was just being funny, we have a video of it. I'm like, you're going to go to jail if you say bad words. He has a video and he's like, one day I'm going to go to jail because I say the word, God damn it, right? Fucking hilarious. Or I would say I would say things like that to him. This was before I understood about the subconscious. I would say things like, if you do these things, you'll go to jail. If you don't do this. So what I'm doing is literally having him envision himself go to jail. And there was a period in the last 6 months that was really, really hard. And he was having a lot of difficulties and became very depressed. And there was a lot of things going on in school. And I kept giving energy to that scenario, that he was going to get in trouble and law enforcement was going to get involved. And even people at the school actually put that in my head at first. And so then I gave energy to it and then I worried about it. And by the end of the year, I got a call from the police department that somebody, one of the teachers had called the police on him. And luckily we handled all of those things. But I was like, did I manifest this? Because I had put so much energy into this and so much thought. And I'm not saying that I'm I want to blame myself for it, but I have to be really, really cautious about trying to put the energy where I want things and not where I don't want things. But I've been heavily programmed for so long that is the work. It is a daily practice for me that I have to get up and I have to say the things that I want and envision the things that I want. And then I got to show up as that person. So I have to be the mom that is constantly positive and constantly blowing smoke up my son's ass and saying how great he is, because he is. He's an amazing child, but he's been programmed for so long. So I can't expect this little boy to think that he's not going to get in trouble if that's what he's been programmed, that he's a bad kid. And so for me, those are some stories about how the law of attraction can be positive. I mean, I can tell you, I put on my vision board 3 years ago for an old vintage Bronco. We have an old vintage Bronco. We got one a year ago. I can tell you that I put on my vision board that I wanted to be on a podcast, and I've been on 2 podcasts, and now I'm talking about creating a podcast. So there's a lot of things positively. I wanted to pay off debt. I was able to pay off debt. It goes on and on and on. There's a lot of positivity, but The law of mirroring is whatever's in your outside reality is something that you've given energy to for so long, or for some reason it's a vibrational match to who you are. And so for me, I always look at life as a game. Like, this is a story, like a physical story that I'm in, you know, like if somebody was watching the movie of me, and it's a game. And so I have to be very aware of how this game is playing out. There's all these little moving parts. So I'm very much into self-inquiry. I think it's a major thing to do. Is go like, why is this happening? What am I supposed to learn? And where am I putting energy into certain things? And how do I reroute this course? That is what I've learned to do into my life. And that's what I'm trying to teach other people when I'm individually coaching them, or if I'm on social media. Whatever I'm doing is trying to teach as much people as I can to try to lessen their suffering. Look, we're on planet Earth. And, you know, part of our growth as a physical human being is some suffering. But, you know, if we can, like, I used to repeat all the time, I just want to fight about something different. Like, I keep fighting about the same things over and over again. Well, be careful what you ask for. Because I want to learn the lessons, and I want to move on to the next lesson. And so that's what we're doing. That's what I believe. That's what I see that we're doing here on planet Earth. And that's how you can check yourself when it comes to law of attraction, law of mirroring. I had somebody recently say that, like, I just don't believe that if we want something, we just think about it and we get it. No, it doesn't work like that. It's what you're giving attention to. It's what you're giving energy to. It's what your frequency is. Like, your frequency on a daily basis. If you're in a bad mood, you're going to react certain ways, and you're going to draw other things that are going to piss you off. So you have to be intentional about your day. And so first thing in the morning, I prime my brain, you know, to try to draw the most positive experiences to me. But of course, life will happen, and there's lessons within that. But I hope this really helps somebody. I've been meaning to get this out, and I wanted to share it, and hopefully something like there's a nugget or a seed that I planted. And if it has helped you, please comment below and like and subscribe to my channel, and much love. Holler.